Alrighty, so the summer sweep up changes have been posted, and we're gonna go over them. So the first things we're gonna go over is some hunter improvements. So hunter is the second newest skill, as they say here. And so, the early game hunter sucks, man. Like, you just go to the one museum in Varrock to bypass your early hunter, and if you can, you quest a little bit more from there. Like, it's just, there's no real reason to train it early, so hopefully they address that. That's really what needs to be addressed. So we are getting some changes to falconry. So let's see here. So you'll no longer be held in place while a falcon is chasing a kebbit. That's going to be really good. That was super annoying to deal with that. And so now we can reposition and walk while it's chasing its prey. This is going to increase experience per hour and make this content significantly less clunky to do, so that's very good to see. You'll be able to ask your falcon to catch a kebbit even if your inventory is full. That's really good. So you can send it out and then you can run towards it and you can shift click drop all of your kebbit items. And so this is just like the two biggest pain points about falconry just taken care of, which is really good. Excess resources will be discarded to avoid cluttering the floor, though we'll make an exception for hunter rumor items here. That's really cool. So you don't even need to do the shift click drop then, because it just does it for you. Really cool. So let's see what happens to aerial fishing here. So we suspect high intensity with some limited downtime. So is this talk? Aerial fishing is something I really haven't done a whole lot of. I'm just not really that interested in doing it. So increase the distance at which you're able to perform quick catches from a 3x3 area effect to a 4x4 area. In effect, this means you'll more likely chain together back-to-back catches every tick if you'd like to play at this level of intensity. So I did a little bit of aerial fishing during leagues, actually, now that I'm remembering, and I didn't do enough to really remember how much this helps, if I'm being honest. But hopefully, I do remember it was a little weird to do, so hopefully they do improve that. We typically have the Golden Tench on our bingo list, so it would be cool to see some aerial fishing improvements on that. Add a toggle to Alri the Angler that allows your Cormorant to eat fish in your inventory if you don't have the appropriate bait, effectively reducing the need for you to make fish offcuts as you go. That's really big. That's one of the big reasons I did not want to do it that much, is like I didn't really enjoy that I had to just make all these offcuts as I was going and making the bait. It was just it was just annoying. This means that you'd forego the cooking XP you could otherwise obtain, but it does make the activity considerably less click intensive, which is fine because you get a lot of cooking experience elsewhere, especially if you're cooking a lot of Karambons. Your cooking is gonna soar. Occasionally, a larger pool will spawn that you can send your Cormorant to several times in a row, which adds a little downtime or periods of lower intensity to break from the rapid pace. That's also just really nice, helps people who don't really want to click a whole lot. Increase the chance of obtaining mulch pearls by about 50%. That's really good. You can getting your angler's outfit. Oh, especially because I'm seeing down here now, they've also been discounted by half. Same with the fishing sack. That's really, really good. This comboed with this means we don't have to do fishing trawler for fast angler anymore. So this is probably going to be significantly better. Nobody likes to do fishing trawler for their angler. It's just not fun. Lower the mulch pearl cost of some of the rewards listed below, any of the prior purchases. Okay, so this is just what I was reading earlier. It's really cool that they are like going back and retroactively refunding pearls to people who have already bought it. All right, on to the next one. Now we have some deadfall trap changes. So associated with the earliest of hunter levels, yeah, I don't like deadfalls, which is, yeah, for the most part because nobody does birdhouses. Or sorry, nobody does the birds because you just do the hunter thing. Maniacal monkeys being a notable exception for their relatively low intensity. I haven't done that, but I've heard you can AFK a lot of hunter experience an hour there. We've got a handful of changes that should breathe new life in these deadfall traps. All right, let's see it. Increase the deadfall trap limit to 2. That's already really good. Also, I haven't read down below yet. I really hope they also make it to where it's like the sunlight antelopes and the Barlamore ones where you can never fail. Because that's another huge pain point with deadfall. It's like they can just jump over it, and then you go to the next one, they jump over it. You go to the next one, they jump over it. You go to the next one, they jump over it. And it's just so infuriating. Maniacal monkeys will... Wait, no. That's pitfall, not deadfall. I'm stupid. These can't fail. Yeah, if you're writing that comment, I got you. Maniacal monkeys will retain the one trap kill limit. That's good, I think. Crook would never... I haven't done it, but I imagine there's a reason they're doing it. Crook would never double trap, so you'd blow your cover. Oh, no, they're just doing some funny stuff with it. Yeah, no, I need to double check. I'm pretty sure these things are like 50k experience an hour AFK, so you don't really need to make something that's super AFK even better on the experience an hour. It's okay for something AFK to not be as good as something active. give deadfall traps a chance to preserve your log when placing a trap so you can cut. That's really good. It essentially makes it to where you don't have to cut as many logs, which is just good. Make deadfall traps able to catch 8 ticks after being placed as opposed to the current 15 ticks. That's also just really nice. It's really annoying only setting up one deadfall, and then you also have to just stand there for 9 seconds before you can ever get any experience out of it. Increase wild kebbit catch rate by 2.5x. These little critters are a bit of an outlier when it comes to the catch rate. I've only done a few of these during rumors, so I do remember hating getting a kebbit deadfall. Yeah, so that's just, they're essentially 4x increase in the XP an hour from kebbits, which is just good. They should, especially because they're early game, they really should just be better. Lower the XP given by wild, barb, prickly, saber-tooth kebbits, and pyre foxes by 20%. I think this is fine because all of these are really good experience already, so if you're able to do 2 of them, it just makes the experience even better. The other changes here still math out to about a 60% increase experience an hour. Yeah, exactly. So they just, especially like pyre foxes, give a lot of experience per catch for their tiers, so if you're able to set 2 of them, like, it needs to be reduced a little bit. And then some other small hunter changes that are just not up on this list here. Allow 2 traps to be placed starting at level 100 rather than level 20. Yeah, this is just really, really, really good. I mean, you're still just going to go to the Varrock Museum, but let's say if there's somebody who doesn't know about the Varrock Museum, now they can do this, and that makes it a lot better. Make the Ring of Pursuit able to reveal full tracks even after one's already been started. This is also really good. It just reduces the need to use the plugin. Improve the drop rate and pity rate for butterfly and moth hunter rumors. These stand out as pretty non-interactive. Yeah, so the main reason these feel like the moths are so bad is a lot of them, unless it's like one of the ones that got added in Varlamore, you can only have like, there's no point in going to like butterfly spawn, butterfly spawn, butterfly spawn, butterfly spawn, like you would everywhere else, because the spawn rate and the distance, you might as well just stand there on one and just catch it as it spawns, and it's 1 in 75, or sorry, 150 for the pity rate. So you have to just stand there just 4 ticks, 150 times if you have to get pity, and it's just not fun. It is nice that they're increasing the drop rate on that. And then grant 30 hunter XP for killing a chompy bird. It's a token amount, but it feels like it makes sense. I mean, yeah, it's not a lot, but it just helps. And it's not going to make a significant amount. It's just, you get like, what, 30,000 experience now going for your elites. I don't remember. I'm pretty sure it's 11. I haven't done it before because I don't want to kill all those chompies, but it does make it better. These are some of the changes that I'm happy about. So I've never had a high enough agility for Sepulcher last floor, but I love doing Sepulcher. So now I can be lazy and I can do Sepulcher. I just got to get 2 more levels, which I'm almost 86, so we're all good there. But anyway, so as I was alluding to, they are reducing the requirements to do the Sepulcher later floors. So at level 4, you can enter it at 77 instead of 82, and floor 5 is level 87 when it used to be 92. And another really big change is you can actually boost to enter floors now. So at 72 agility, you can eat a summer pie, and now you can access floor 4. So I can actually just enter, after these changes happen, I can just go to floor 5 because I have a quintillion summer pies from Master Clues and just random PvE stuff. And then adjust the floor 5's Grand Coffin so it requires 84 thieving or 92 agility to open. Everybody's going to be opening this at 84 thieving because there's just this, you can get this within like 6 hours of making your account pretty, well, probably not that fast. I mean, maybe I'm just dog shit at blackjacking, but you can get this very, very, very fast. Like, one of the first things you can do on any account is just go blackjack to 99 once you get the quest requirements. So nobody's ever getting 92 agility before 84 thieving. That's just not happening. As I say here, it's just because like it gets really repetitive to do like the early floors, like 1 to 3 especially. I think, yeah, floor 3 it's just boring to do it after a long time. And like, I find floor 4 to be pretty fun. I've never done 5 though, and I'm really excited to see what 5's like. Especially because the experience an hour there is really good, so just being able to get there earlier and just get the experience an hour, it's just really good. Failure intensity spectrum is the Colossal Worm. So they want to make this even more AFK than it currently is a Colossal Worm agility course. If you haven't done it, it's pretty nice actually. If you're doing some other stuff at the time and you don't want to pay full attention, you can just click, and most of the time after you click, you have like about 20 seconds where you don't have to do anything. And so it's really good for playing another game at the time and doing some agility while you want to. I mean, of course, you're going to be getting very, very bad experience an hour, but what's better, 5,000 agility experience an hour or no agility experience an hour? And we got some extra agility shortcuts. This is the last little bit. Whenever I woke up, I saw this and I just skimmed down to here and I'm like, wait, what am I doing? I want to react to this. So, agility shortcuts. We have, at level 49, west of Draenor Manor, the small gap in the fence. So that's going to be leading to the farm patch, I believe, which is going to be really good because it's kind of annoying to reach that farm patch until you have the some diaries done. Southwest of Giant's Plateau, allowing easy access to and from the desert. So Giant's Plateau, that's where Giant's Foundry is going to be at. That would be kind of nice for like Ruins of Xeric. Maybe I'm not seeing it. I don't think this one is going to be like super useful, but we'll have to see. Maybe I'm just thinking about the wrong spot, and maybe that's why. Whenever I actually see it in game, maybe. Level 60, southern edge of the Edgeville dungeon, cutting down on travel time if you've lost your brass key. That's really good, especially because as a member, you're not really going to be going to the Edgeville dungeon, especially the brass key area, all that much. Requiring 60 agility, you know, it just, hey, if you accidentally forgot it, if you have 60 agility, there's not much of a reason for you to be here. Why not let people go around it faster? At level 62, you can do the central area of the top floor of the RCS library and allow you to jump down to the bottom floor. This is going to be really helpful. If you've done a lot of the like finding a book things where you get the rune crafting or magic experience, which are very useful early game by the way, you can just go from the top to the bottom, which is so good because especially in the central area, it's really annoying to get back to the bottom floor. It takes a long time for no reason. North of Sapperman, a slippery stepping stone for those of you who need to cross the river Elid and a flash. So this is going to help you get to the Desert Treasure Pyramid to change your spell books much faster. If you like if you have your house in Polivniach, you can go there, carpet ride, and then you can just take that shortcut. It's way faster to recharge it. Although especially if you're a main, you should just Ring of Glory, and then you should take the Temperus Ferry, and then you should go that way. But again, if you're not a main, it's a little harder to get those glories. And if you're a hardcore, it's even harder to charge them consistently. You can do them in the Heroes Guild, actually. I forgot about that, because nobody does that unless you're a hardcore. At level 82, the small island north of Mostly Harmless, your least favorite treasure trial step, just got a whole lot better. Thank fucking God. You don't have to go all the way through the cave horror dungeon to get to that mahogany thing. It just takes so long, and I never remember my Witchwood icon. And then at level 83, west of Polivniach, allowing quick access to Alley the Hag's Hut to the nearby plateau. That's another clue scroll step that I haven't done very many master clues. I'm pretty sure it's a master step, and that's why I haven't seen it. I hate doing clue scrolls. But that's, again, it's really good because it's kind of annoying to run all the way around to get to that clue scroll step. And then, so new shortcuts are all well and good, but we'd also like to take a look at some of the most frustrating out there. Grapple shortcuts. There's no shortage of shortcuts in the game that you'll look and think my character's done way tougher than this, so we'd like to allow some grapple crossbow shortcuts to be over-leveled to be able to complete it without any gear at all. That is actually really nice. I would not have expected them to do that, but yeah. A lot of the grapple shortcuts are just useless because you need to have a rune crossbow and you need to have a mithril grapple, and that's just... When are you going to have that? I think the only grapple shortcut I've consistently used is the one at Yanil, because it's like just right next to a bank. But at level 8, so the one that goes across the River Lum to Alcarid, you can just do that at level 48 now. The Falador wall climb is barehanded at level 52. The rock climb between Catherby and Taverley can be done at 68. we'd also like to make this a two-way shortcut. So you can go over and back, which is just really nice. It's going to help a lot. This is a shortcut. I'm not entirely sure where it is, but Catherby and Taverley, just anything to bypass White Wolf Mountain, especially in the earlier game, is really good. Because, I mean, I guess it's not early game. Like, it's hard to get a Mithril Grapple and Iron at level 32, and 68 Agility isn't that, like, that's a decent end unless you rush Agility. The Catherby Water Obelisk Jump, usable at 72. I think this is only to get from the water over across to the Catherby side. So, like, initially I was thinking, like, holy, but that's right, because up here they said a two-way shortcut. This one isn't a two-way shortcut, so you're not going to be able to get to the Water Obelisk super fast and easy. You're still going to have to go through Taverley Dungeon. Wall Climb, usable bare hand at 69. This is the one I was talking about earlier. The corresponding achievement diary would still require a grapple to be used. Okay, that's why I remember doing that one. Then it's the diary requirement. And then the level 53 grapple, Strong Trees just south of Karamja Volcano, usable barehanded at level 78. I'm gonna be completely honest, I have never heard of this shortcut in my life. Agility's Pinnacle training method coupled with more use cases trained beyond level 70 will have you getting more steps in before, which is just good. One of my huge gripes with agility, like, I don't know, before I really got into my Iron Man was, there's just not much of a reason to train it past 70. 70, you get Saradomin, you get the Blue Dragon shortcut, and yeah, until you go to do Runecrafting Bloods, you don't really have a reason to do anymore, do you? So Guardians of the Rift has some changes coming on. Let's see here. Allow players to purchase the Abyssal Needle for 750 pearls, meaning there's a deterministic option for players going dry. This is really good. I've always gotten lucky on my Abyssal Needles, thankfully, so I've never felt this pain on not having it. So for those of you out there, I know a couple of my clanmates, like, they went very dry on an Abyssal Needle. I mean, 750 pearls, that's a lot. But you will never go infinitely dry on a skilling item now that's pretty much required for any half-decent experience an hour, like, later on, unless you're doing, like, AFK Bloods. Allow the Abyssal Lantern to function outside of Guardians of the Rift. I always thought it was fucking stupid it didn't function outside of Guardians of the Rift. Like any other minigame in the entire game, you get an item for it, and you can use it inside of the minigame. Hold on, I gotta blow my nose 1 second. Alrighty, sorry about that. But yeah, it's just like any other minigame. Like, you imagine if you got a fishing barrel and you could only use it inside of Temporos. Imagine if you got the Abyssal Needle and you could only use the Colossal Pouch inside of Guardians of the Rift. That's what it was like for the Abyssal Lantern. And obviously, you know what, the bonus points should not work outside of Guardians of the Rift, because what are they gonna do? But there's ones that give you, like, they make it to where, like, your pouches don't degrade. They make it to where you craft more runes, and it's a little silly that you weren't able to use those outside. But now you can, which is really, really good. Allow the Guardian's Eye to unlock a permanent metamorphosis on the Rift Guardian, rather than taking up space in your bank for whenever you want to switch your companion's appearance. So I think that means if you get the Guardian's Eye, you can use it on this big boy in the middle, and then it doesn't take up bank space. Oh wait, no, I understand now, because I've never had this pet. So the Guardian's Eye gives you a metamorphosis option for the Rift Guardian, but I think what this is saying is that before, you would have to use the Guardian's Eye on your Rift Guardian to make him look like the big boy in the middle. And then the Guardian's Eye didn't get consumed, and you had to put it back in your bank to change it back. And so now it consumes the Guardian's Eye, and you can swap it back and forth whenever you couldn't. This is such a silly thing. I just thought that's how it always functioned, because why wouldn't it? So, I mean, this is just good. There's no reason not to do this. Tbows. In a similar vein to above, view another rewards-related readjustment here. Allow players to purchase the Fish Barrel and Tackle Box for 6,000 Spirit Flakes each. That is really, really good. Fish Barrel especially, man. If you go dry on Fish Barrel, especially on a solo iron, it feels awful. And one of the things going on right now in my group hardcore is one person has a Fish Barrel and nobody else has a Fish Barrel. So guess who's the fish bitch? The person with the barrel. With this, all of us are gonna have to be the fish bitch, and we can't say anything about it. Coral. I'm just gonna read the changes down here. I still haven't touched sailing. I'm not a sailing hater. I just do other stuff more. I just want to do other stuff more is the way to put it. So I have literally no idea what any of this is. I have not touched this content yet. So all coral gets 6 harvest lives up from 4, so you just guaranteed to get 2 more corals per. That's nice. Chance to obtain coral frags and their associated thieving chests reduced from 1 in 20 down from 1 in 15. So you just get them coral frags a little more often. Adjust some stat random values behind the scenes for various frags. This shifts their yield in game as a rough estimate of how these changes will shift average yield, and here are some numbers. So Elkhorn goes from 18.29 to 1944 yield at level 77 farming, and 34.13 to 27.93 at level 99 farming. And so what this is saying right here is that at level 77 farming, you will on average get more Elkhorn than you do right now. But at 99 farming, you get less Elkhorn than you do right now. Almost 10 reduced. That's quite a bit. 7, full, like, it's 7.93. So it's closer to 6 because of this is almost a full number here, and this is like almost not. On Pillar, it goes from 14.84 to 16.17 at 77, and 34.13 and 26.95 at 99. Same exact thing here. At lower farming levels, you're getting more, and at higher farming levels, you're getting less. And the exact same change again happens for Umbral. So they just went all around and just made coral better at lower levels and worse at higher levels. And then down here, some other tweaks for the skilling. So we got remove the make X interface when you use a log on an existing bonfire. Instead, just use logs to start adding and either click away or keep going until you run out of logs. That's fine. Remove the Herblore level requirement for the Radiant pouch. It's really silly this even had an Herblore level requirement to begin with. It takes such a long time from such a dog shit ass minigame to get it. Just honestly, if anybody goes through the trouble to get a Radiant pouch or anything from that minigame, it should just not have a requirement. Improve shark lures so that they increase the rate at which you fish from 5 to 4 ticks per roll, effectively a 20% increase in the speed you catch sharks. This is just good. I haven't used any of my shark lures yet because I get so many raw sharks from PVM, but I do use my diabolic worms, and it's such a huge help. So I can only imagine just making them 20% better whenever you're fishing sharks is just good. Buff the elite clue rate from heroes by 25%, so they're going from 1 in 1400 to 1 in 1050. I have no idea what the purpose of this change is, but sure, why not? Maybe this is like a elite clue scroll method I don't know about if you don't want to spend money on dragon dumplings. Down here into PVM changes, we have some Gauntlet changes coming. I am nervous. I mean, after all, the only other like actual produced video in a long time on this channel that I've made is one about the Gauntlet, and so I have some pretty strong feelings about this content. I love Gauntlet. So let's see what they have to do about it. This one's already generated a lot of conversation. Hopefully seeing what's actually on the table might calm things down a little. Well, that does make me feel a little better. If they're wanting to calm things down, I doubt they're going to make drastic changes to drop rates, which is really my main worry about Gauntlet. I also don't think we should be making prep that much easier if that's also on the table, but we'll see. We'll start this section by saying our aims for this aren't to drastically speed up the enhanced crystal weapon seed grind, so that's good. If they don't want to drastically speed it up, if at most it'll be like a 10% increase, like it'll be 10% faster, and I think a 10% faster on enhanced is like not that big of a deal. It's still more than I would like, but if 10% is like the absolute highest the it could potentially be, that's good. And I don't know what it is yet, I'm just guessing. And instead center on reducing variance and smoothing out the prep phase so that you can more readily turn off your brain before locking in on your fight against Hunlip. And this is what I think is what they should change. I don't think they should change the prep and make it like more difficult to get all of your items in time for your gear and everything, but I do think it is a really good to make it to where it's less RNG. I'll go ahead and put up on screen if I know how to do it. I have never looked into it. My react video to Sebe, and one of the big things that I said there that I think Gauntlet should have is less RNG, specifically on demi bosses. I think it's a little bad that you can go like 2 edges and not see a single demi boss. Like, that's awful. So changes aimed at producing prep and variance intensity. Guarantee a random demi-boss spawn at the north, east, southwest most common rooms from the center. Meaning 4 demi-bosses with fixed locations, but the specific demi-bosses you encounter will still be random. That's perfect. That would have been exactly what I wanted if we were gonna change prep. So basically what that means is whenever you spawn into the center room and you click the mini-map icon, because you can pull up a map of the Gauntlet, directly north, south, east, and west in the very center will always have a demi-boss. So you're guaranteed to get 1 demi-boss per side. Now, you don't know what demi-boss is gonna be there, but you know there's gonna be a demi-boss, and that's really the thing that matters. While we're talking about demi-bosses, we'd also like to reduce their maximum attack range from 16 to 10, meaning you'll be less likely to get jump scared by an off-screen dark beast. Yeah, there's been so many times I've just running through 46. So this is fine, I think. Especially one thing though, if you accidentally get aggro, like you open the wrong room, you can teleport back to the main room, go on the opposite side of the Gauntlet, and that dark beast is still pissed at you. So hopefully that's one thing I also think should change. Once you get a long distance away from the dark beast, it shouldn't keep its aggro on you as well. Add a guaranteed weapon frame to your first low tier NPC kills. I think this is fine. You get a guarantee at 3 if you haven't gotten a weapon frame already, so getting a guarantee at just the first one, it's not really that big of a deal. You're not getting that many crystal shards from them anyway, so making you get your weapon frame, you're still gonna have to do some other stuff. Changes aimed at decluttering or simplifying prep. Make firm bark, crystal ore, and linen trinium stackable. I think they should reduce the amount of time you have inside of prep if they're gonna do this, because this right here is like a 40-second time save. Not having to drop them at the singing bowl here and then not having to pick them back up. This is just a plus 40 seconds to your prep. Automatically place crystal shards in your inventory rather than having to pick them up. Not a fan. It's not a huge deal though. It just means that you don't have to be as efficient with your NPC manipulation while you're gathering your stuff. But again, it's not the worst. Reduce variance of the number of crystal shards dropped by enemies, meaning the number of enemies you need to kill should feel more consistent between runs. I think this is also fine. It's really weird that sometimes you'll kill a tier 3 enemy and you'll get like 40 shards, and the next time you kill it, you get over 100. It just doesn't make sense. Standardize the stats of the regular, not demi-bosses, enemies within tiers, so it's not better to kill a wolf over a scorpion, for example. That's also really good. There was sometimes, like, the most efficient thing to kill was a scorpion before, because its HP to shard to, like, ratio was just insane compared to everything else. So you would always kill a scorpion, you always got a guaranteed weapon frame first, and you always got a good amount of shards. So it's really good that you can just kill any tier 3, because sometimes you just don't get scorpions. Simplify the number of crystal shards used to create various pieces of equipment so that you're not reliant on remembering odd numbers or over-reliant on a plugin to keep track. I do tier 2 prep, but I haven't done tier 3 prep, so maybe that's the big thing. With tier 2 prep, I've never had to track my crystal shards a single run of my entire life. I've always had enough by the time I got to the singing bowl to make all of my weapons, my armor, and everything. But anyway, to go over the crystal shard changes, a tier 1 weapon requires no shards. It used to be 20, but you still need the weapon frame. A tier 2 weapon requires 50 crystal shards, down from 60. So now, whenever you're doing your first little run around, you will need a total of 90 crystal shards, because you want to make 3 vials and your tier 2 weapon whenever you go to get your hilts from the demi-bosses. So it's really easy to remember, just 90. That's not bad at all. Had to get a new Final Fantasy IX song, it just shows a random one. We got Kuja. But so you just have to remember 90 shards after your first little run around, which is not bad, that's super easy. And then creating a piece of tier 1 armor requires 50 crystal shards, up from 40, and creating a piece of tier 2 requires 100 crystal shards, up from 80. So this just makes it easy to remember the numbers because they're nice and rounded. So instead of remembering 120 for your tier 1 armor, you just remember 150, 300 instead of 240. Creating a piece of tier 3 armor requires 100 crystal shards, up from 80. The reason for this increase is that we don't want tier 3 to become a guaranteed must-have for every run, and should still be a trading comfort for time loss, encouraging people to push themselves down to tier 1 prep for fastest clears. This is really good. Because they're making everything else easier, it's still going to cost about the same amount of shards to make a full set of tier 3 armor and tier 3 weapons. So that's just all around good. For some comparisons, a full set of tier 1 armor costs a full set of tier 1 armor, 2 tier 3 weapons requires 250 shards instead of 280, so tier 1 is easier to do. Tier 2 armor requires 450 shards, down from the 460 that currently does. This means nothing. You're almost never going to be missing exactly 10 shards, so tier 2 is pretty much the exact same as it was before. And a full set of tier 3 requires 750, up from the 700 that it currently does. You don't have to drop items, you don't have to find your demi-bosses, you don't have to make your weapon cross crystal shards for your weapons. This is not that big of a deal. The extra 50 crystal shards here, as long as you're doing a half decent prep, should never be a problem. Other PVM or PVM adjacent change. Let's wrap up that because I skipped over this. Prevent weapon frames from dropping if you have a total of 3 weapon frames or crafted weapons. This is just really good because I like to spam click my loot, and so I'll pick up my weapon frames and I'll always have to drop it because I'll never remember to not pick it up. These changes should make prep feel more reliable, make the quantities of things required easier to remember, and probably speed things up for players of all skills so that you can spend more time focusing on a hunt fight. Let us know what you make of them, and you can stop yelling at each other out. No, we cannot, because we are people, and we are nerds. And what do nerds do? They complain about fucking everything. So you know what, Jagex? Just for that, I'm gonna find something to complain about further down here. But I think these Gauntlet changes are just fine. If we were gonna change Gauntlet to make the Bofa grind better, this is how you want to do it. This just addresses most of the pain points that people have whenever farming Gauntlet without actually going out of the way to increase the drop rates. The big thing for this too is players who are less good at Gauntlet will almost always have a good prep now. You're almost never going to have a prep where you're not having enough resources, you can't find your demi-bosses. This is great. And for people who are good at the prep, like you have your choice of always doing tier 1, tier 2, or tier 3. If you're doing your hardcore and you're good at prep, you will always have tier 3 armor now. You will never have a prep where you're resetting because you can't get all of the resources. Between the stackable, between, you know, everything, like you can get all of your bark, your ore, your linen, and your fish in your prep, and then all you have to do is kill your 3 demi-bosses or 2 demi-bosses, and then you're done with prep. Everything's dropped in the base, and you're just good to go. So now, other PVM and PVM adjacent changes. While Gauntlet's the headline for this section, we've got some more miscellaneous changes to a variety of NPCs and content too. I looked ahead. I'm very interested to see this. I think Chambers' loot table needs some changes. Alright, I'm tired of finding music. I'm just gonna add some stuff in post-edit. Alrighty, so add a minimum number of player attacks before Phantom Muspa can change styles to prevent constant back-to-back swaps that make the fight frustrating in high-tier gear setups. The fight's frustrating regardless because it's boring as hell. I don't like the smite phase. The smite phase completely kills the whole cadence of the fight, in my opinion. Like, if you have an orbital crossbow, it's nowhere near as bad. But if you're just RCBing and Sapphire bolting, this boss is just not fun to kill. Add a minimum number of player attacks before demonic gorillas can change overheads to prevent constant back-to-back swaps, which make them really draining Slayer tasks. That's pretty nice. This is exactly what I didn't know I wanted a demonic gorilla change again, but here I am. I'm all for this. I need to kill I need to grind out like 3-4 more Zenites on my iron because I have 3 Araxite Fangs, and yeah, no, that's it. But I know I'm gonna get another Mockleetle Cloth before I finish Doom, so doing this to make the bonds easier to get is just good. There's no reason to be upset about this. Lower the duration of the Phantom Muspa's homing spikes attack so that it ends a little sooner since it's kind of a drag. It's been a long time since I've done Muspa. I'm not really too familiar with that. The only thing I want to complain about, Gygax, is why is you got Phantom Muspa Phantom Muspa, Demonic Gorillas in between. I know it's because like these changes are the same, but I told you I was going to find something to complain about, didn't I? Add a cooldown before a Skitizo totem can spawn again after being destroyed. Thank fucking God. For those of you that haven't done this or didn't know, if you have a Skitizo totem and it's up for 60 seconds, like fully alive, and then you kill it, it will never respawn. You don't have to do that now with this. You can just kill the boss. Reduce the size of Skotizo's arena so that you're more focused on dealing damage than increasing your daily step count and running between totems nonstop. This is another huge problem with Skotizo. That if they cut the size in half, it would still be too much. Remove the restriction on lifesteal effects against the Wardens of Eladenis or Timican, meaning the Blood Fury and Sanguinesti staff would be able to function there. I had no idea they couldn't function there. I've never meleeed them, and I've never had a Sanguinesti staff. So, reduce the it just doesn't make sense it didn't work. I mean, it does because like it's a Warden, it's like a robot. How are you going to take health from a robot? But it's my medieval point-and-click game, Jagex. Reduce Chivalry's drain rate so that it matches Deadeye and Mystic Vigor. There is no follow-up sentence. Thank fucking God. Like, if I had been an old school RuneScape content creator, this would have been one of the big things I would have been talking about for the past 5 years. Ever since I first got Piety as a kid in middle school, I thought it was stupid that Chivalry was the same drain rate. Why was it the same drain rate? It is so good that it matches Deadeye and Mystic Vigor. There is actually a reason whenever you're 60 prayer to go and do the Knight's Waves now. It'll be a pain in the ass whenever you have to do all the flinching, but at least you can do it. Prevent the Surge Potion's cooldown from being reset on death inside of Chambers of Xeric, since it introduced a feels bad meta for speedrunners. I'm not a speedrunner. I didn't know this existed. This is just good. Part of the reason I don't want to do speedrunnings in most games is because it's just not really all that fun to have a whole bunch of like RNG stuff that goes on. Like I was watching a Spyro speedrun and like, bro, like the things that they had to do to like bypass like the nasty Nork shit was just insane. Prevent the progress in the Night Waves from being reset if you leave via the door. Never mind, you don't have to flinch. So this change combined with this change is very, very good. So mid-game players can get Chivalry much easier now because the Knight's Waves is one of the big reasons like not that great players were not able to get it because they don't know about flinching and they just go in there and they're like, holy shit, I'm getting my ass beat. This shit is OP. So it's just very, very good that Chivalry is easier to get. It costs less. It's just there's an actual reason to get and use Chivalry now. Before signing off in this section, we'd like to share our thoughts on a topic that we see crop up very often and that some of you may feel is noticeably absent from this year's changes. Our thoughts on CM Chambers and Prayer Scrolls. So, my thoughts on CMs and Prayer Scrolls is that I do think, especially after we got the TOA changes for the Shadow is more common at experts, and as you go higher and higher invo, you get better and better chances at receiving a Shadow. And I also know that at Tob, if you're doing hard mode Tob, you have a lower chance of receiving an Averna kill. So with that, I imagine what we're going to get is less weighted prayer scrolls inside of challenge mode, which is just good. You should be rewarded for doing CMs, because as it currently stands, if you want to grind out your Twisted Bow, there's no reason to do challenge mode Chambers, which is a shame because challenge mode Chambers is pretty fun. I enjoy doing challenge mode. But the only real reason to do it is your Twisted Ancestral and Dust, so I'm excited to see what we have going on with this. Chambers of Xeric unique table is weighted heavily towards the Arcane and Dexterous prayer scrolls, meaning that roughly 58% of the uniques you'll see on average will be a prayer scroll. This is even worse, by the way, and I'm feeling this at TOA because it's 2 drops in the most common slot, and it's not uncommon for somebody to have 5 of these and none of these. Just like it's not that uncommon for people to have 4 fangs and no light bearer. But, will be prayer scroll. Challenge mode, Chambers of Xeric completions add the Twisted Ancestral Kit and Metamorphic Dust to the Territory loot table, but they do not make any adjustments to the normal loot table, meaning 58% of uniques you see in CM completions will also be prayer scrolls. And the reason this is really bad for like people wanting to do CMs is why would you do a 40-minute CM when you could do two 20-minute normal chambers? The CM gives you 30,000 points each, and then the normal mode gives you 20,000 points each. Well, it's not hard to realize one of those is 50% more points an hour. So, I don't think I did the math in my head right. I'm a little bit retarded. But you guys know what I mean. By contrast, Theater of Blood's top hard mode does make adjustments to the loot table. Yeah, that's what I was saying earlier. The Avernic Defender hilt is reduced by 7.7%. And this also... Okay, it doesn't look like they mention it here, but this is also true for Toa, but you can see... it might be a plugin. On Toa, if you increase your invocation levels, it actually tells you the percent chance increases you have. Like, the Fang and Lightbearer percent chance per purple go down, and the Shadow percent chance per purple, and Misori percent chance per purple, and the Ward it goes up. So, obviously we don't have invocations in Chambers and Tob, but it's still good that we have that option in Toa, and it just doesn't make sense that it doesn't happen in Chambers. The high weighting of prayer scrolls applying to CM Cox has been a frequent topic of discussion for some time now, with many players suggesting we reduce the weighting to remove these scrolls entirely from the CM Cox loot table. Absolutely fucking not. Reduce them, sure, but completely remove them? If the prayer scrolls get completely removed from the CM Cox loot table, like, the only way I'd be okay with that is, like, it's quite a bit more rare to get the other purples too, because... I mean, it's not like you're losing those purple rolls in Chambers, but if you just remove the prayer scrolls from the CM Cox loot table, what you're essentially doing is you're just never getting prayer scrolls, and you're still not getting purples more often. Now that I'm thinking about this, this is just not good. You're just getting less purples, and you're not even getting more, like, good purples out of it, you know? In line with how hard mode top handles the Avernic, this suggestion is simple enough and absolutely has some merit, but we've been hesitant to make a simple change here since we think the problem is a little more complicated, so we'd like to talk it through you and propose something a little out of the box. Alrighty, so this probably has something to do with the fact that Chambers loot is, like, the point and how you get purples and everything. It's very, very weird. It doesn't make sense no matter how many times I look at it. But so here, we'll go through some simpler approaches we've seen in the past with some brief points to add on each. So they have a few different here, okay? So approach 1, reduce prayer scroll weighting slightly, do nothing else. This most closely mirrors the hard mode top approach. It puts a downward pressure on every unique on the loot table. Downward pressure means that supply is increased and value likely drops as a result. Yeah, that will be the one downside of this is... We saw what happened to the Shadow after it became more popular, and that was one thing that I was very upset about. I didn't think it was good that, like, the Shadow was already the cheapest mega rare and already the most universally, like, good one, and then on top of that, it was made easier to get. And the worst part is, it made perfect sense that it was easier to get. So, as an Iron Man player, I'm perfectly happy with these changes because it just makes my items easier to get. But from like a non-biased perspective, I don't know if it's a good thing to make items drop in value because Iron Men specifically have a hard time getting them. Like, it benefits me personally, obviously, and that's good for me, but I don't want to make changes to the game that benefit me but harm the game. You know what I mean? Prayer scroll weighting is so high that you'd likely still see them very frequently, that is true, unless we reduce the weighting drastically, which would result in a very significant increase for other uniques, which is just, we shouldn't do that. If the prayer scroll drop rate is too big compared to other ones, then, you know, that's... I don't know where I was going with that. Call me stupid in the comments. Some items can't really absorb the downward pressure and still maintain a healthy value, namely the Twisted Buckler and Den's Bulwark. I mean, the Twisted Buckler, yeah, it's like the best in slot range offhand. If the Den's drops in value, nobody will really care. This item isn't used anywhere. It's just whenever you get your Den's Bulwark, instead of getting 13 mil, you get like 5. Which, Den's Bulwark, like, let's just be honest, this could be removed from Chambers drop table entirely, and nobody would really care. But also the Dragon Hunter Crossbow and Dragon Claws to a lesser extent. Yes, this is true. Dragon Hunter Crossbow is just, it's a very, very powerful item for farming Vorkath, and it's also a really, really good item for Iron Men who don't have a Tbow yet and you're doing like challenge modes and stuff, because Dragon Hunter Crossbow just shreds Olm. It's so good whenever you use it. And Dragon Claws, Burning Claws need to be a bit nerfed for Dragon Claws to go back up in value. The problem with Dragon Claws really isn't the fact that the problem with Dragon Claws is the fact that Burning Claws exist, and Burning Claws are just so good. Burning Claws are easier to get. They're special attack. You get 3 special attacks. So if you only want to use like 30% special, like if you're in, for example, Tombs of a Mascot, and you use Burning Claw spec, you only need 1 special attack energy recharge, and then you can use your Karis now. And the Dragon Claws can't say that. You know, requiring 50% special, they make them a high burst option, but that makes them less good in like a lot of different scenarios. Approach 2. Reduce prayer scroll weighting, reduce purple chance. All of the above still applies here too. So everything from up here, they're talking about here. And many players feel as though purple chance at Cox are too infrequent as is, making them more infrequent would feel bad. Yeah, this is not, we should not do this. From a game health perspective, this is probably the best way to do it, I think. But like they say, reducing the purple chance feels bad as is, because everybody who's done Chambers has went 100 raids without a purple, and you just, every single time you go back in and you're looking at rescouting, or you're looking at resetting your challenge mode, like fake full layout is what it's called, it takes you that much longer to pre-pot and click start raid, because it's just a slog, just doing it no purple, doing it no purple, doing it no purple. We don't need to make that worse. So yeah, we should not do this. Approach 3, increase purple chance. Oh wait, no, never mind. I think I read that wrong. Hold on. Still puts downward pressure on everything. Still results in mostly seen prayer scrolls. Purples are more frequently seen, which probably does make the raid feel better for many players. Okay, so I did understand that correctly. This option is even worse than this one. I don't really think I need to explain why. Making even more items potentially like the best bow, like even though the Shadow is like the best mega rare you should always get first in my opinion, every single player on the planet will choose a Twisted Bow over a Shadow, even if they were the exact same price, because it's a fucking Tbow. What the fuck? But we should not be making it more common. Just absolutely not. Unique prices are delicate, and Chambers of Xeric uniques have historically done a pretty good job at maintaining value considering the raid's lifespan. Yeah, part of that is because of all the items in the drop table, and another part of that is you're not getting a lot of purples an hour unless you're soloing, and solo Chambers is like quite difficult, even though group Chambers is very easy. And there's so many people who are doing 3+ zeros, and they're not really getting that many points an hour as much as they should anyway, and they're just, they're just running Chambers, and they're not putting that many purples into the game, and that's really the reason why this exists. So we're quite cautious about any solution that might result in a drastic increase for these. Instead, we like to float an idea that tackles the problem in a slightly different angle. What if the scrolls themselves had some sort of added value to apply upwards pressure? Like making them better? Here's an idea we've been toying with. What if you could reroll a unique? Hypothetical scenario, player obtains an Arcane Prayer Scroll. I actually really like this. Reroll provides a 1 in X chance to roll the unique table again, but with the Arcane Prayer Scroll removed from the table, increasing all other unique weightings. When the 1 in X chance is missed, the Arcane Prayer Scroll is deleted. Okay, so basically, it's kind of like, or no, I was going to say it's kind of like the Treasure Trial reroll in RS3, but it's nothing like that. So basically, let's say you get an Arcane Prayer Scroll, and you already have an Arcane Prayer Scroll. You can click the reroll button, and the game has a 1 in 10 chance of giving you a different purple. Like 1 in 10 is just a number. That's a little bit. It'll probably be closer to like 1 in 5, 1 in 3, something like that. 1 in 5 is probably where it's going to be. But if you hit that 1 in 5, you get a completely different unique, and it cannot be an Arcane Prayer Scroll. This is really, really good, because if you're an Iron Man, like imagine you get like an Ancestral Hat, do you take the Bonds, or do you potentially get an Ancestral Top? this is just good. I really, really like this. This reduces the amount of prayer scrolls that are in the game. And on top of that, like, after so many Arcane Prayer Scrolls and Dex Prayer Scrolls are rerolled and deleted from the game for other purples, these will slowly increase in value. And Arcane and Dexes are already pretty pricey, which is really good. So effectively, this creates upward pressure on every item whose value is less than average reroll value, meaning items like the Prayer Scrolls, Din's Bulwark, and Twisted Buckler likely increase in value, which is good. These should all increase in value. These need to be more expensive. There's some downwards pressure created on other uniques, but not to the degree that it's likely to be overtly detrimental. Yeah, you'll see 5 more Tbows a month compared to right now off of this change, like across the entire game. This means that mains could effectively try their luck at getting something better, and irons who have a healthy Death's Copper could reroll any duplicate items. Yeah, which is exactly right. Cloggers could reroll absolutely everything, and it's a change that could in theory apply to both CMs and normal Cox if we wanted. It should apply to both of them. The additional benefit, this might be a bad idea, maybe not. I think CMs should have a better chance than normal chambers to successfully reroll a purple. The additional benefit of an approach like this is that we can justify being more generous with the system than we could with simpler buffs and numbers changes, since there's a trade-off involved. Yes, and I do think Jagex should monitor it very closely. If this is adding way more Tbows into the game than we think, or like was foreseen, you just make it less likely. You could even, like, if mega rares are disproportionately coming into their game more commonly off this, you can make it to where like mega rares are harder to reroll into or something. From a system design's perspective, something like this achieves a lot, but it's understandably a bit weird, and we know that sacrifice style options can be very hit or miss for players, so we'd like to gauge your thoughts on our outlandish idea and see how it stacks up against the approaches outlined above. While you mull over this one, we've got more changes coming. I don't need to mull over this. I think the reroll option is absolutely the best way to go from this, because this is the second best, I think, is just reduce the prayer weighting a little bit and do nothing else. It's either approach 1 or it's approach hypothetical. Those are the two. Those should be the only 2 approaches that are even considered. Approach 2 and approach 3 are just bad for the health of the game. You either make chambers less fun to do, or you make chambers so good to do that it becomes Toa, where a Tbow is 900 mil. So before we continue on to the rest of this, I'm gonna go pee. Alrighty, we are back. So now we have some gear changes and rebalancing. It's time to open up that Grand Exchange interface and prepare to panic buy or panic sell. Fastest finger wins. Jokes aside, we tend to use this time to assess the position of existing gear in the game that might be underperforming or overperforming, then make small changes here or there to position gear more effectively to ensure older content remains more relevant and that we're not damaging how future-proof progression is with some gear overperforming drastically. These are only minor tweaks in some instances, so we'll list things off and I cannot read, holy. So in most instances, we'll list things off and keep things quick. Gear buffs. It's a pretty long list, so let's see what's going on here. Sanguinesti staff tweaks. Chains to heal increase from 1 and 5 up from 1 and 6. Deals 8 additional damage whenever this heal procs. That's really good. This averages out to plus 1.6 damage per hit. This is really, really good. Sanguinesti staff, I don't think it really justifies the price point between Trident and Ayak. There's a few more changes going on down below, but I think just this top one alone is really good. It's not just it's not just a Trident that heals anymore with this. Base max hit increased by plus 1. Hey, just damage. That's good. Charge cost reduced to 2 blood runes per cast, down from 3. This is also really, really good. Like I said earlier, I don't have a Sanguinesti staff, never had, but I didn't even know it cost 3 blood runes. That is absurd. I thought it was always 2. Soul Reaper axe changes. Strength bonus increased to plus 125, so it got a plus 4 strength bonus. That's really good. Stacks to provide plus 10% damage per stack, up from plus 6% damage per stack. So instead of being, how many stacks? Cap at 3, down from 5. So it was 18% and now it's 30%, and you get stacks faster. That is really good. That makes a Soul Reaper axe like a million times easier to use. This equates to the same damage increase. Oh wait, no, yeah, because 5, I was imagining 3, that's right. This equates to the same damage increase, but with faster ramp time and less HP lost to achieve maximum stacks. This is good. The Soul Reaper axe was incredibly difficult to use for the average player, and on top of that, it was just very difficult and very expensive. There's just no reason to use it over a Nox Halley for the average player, and now that's not true anymore. Grazi Rapier stab accuracy increased by +6, strength bonus increased by +4. This guarantees an additional max hit in all setups. That's really huge. We will have to wait and see. Does this make the Grazi Rapier a competitive option against low defense monsters? Because low defense monsters, you have a lot of options if they don't have that much stab defense, and the Fang's usually the best option, but maybe now we'll have some low defense stab enemies that you can just hit with the 4-tick. Blade of Saildor slash accuracy increased by +6, strength. Oh, so this is just the exact same change as the Grazi Rapier. So the Blade of Saildor also just gets an additional max hit in all setups. This is like insanely huge. Whenever they released a Noxious Halberd, they wanted it to be similar DPS and max gear to a Blade of Saildor and an Avernic Defender. So what this means is now a Blade of Saildor and a Avernic should be always better than a Noxious Halberd, which is really good in my opinion. I always thought it was weird that like you can get a Slayer boss slash weapon that's better than like the one you get from the Gauntlet, but I also thought it was fine because you need to get 2 enhanced weapon seeds. So now people who go out of their way to get their second enhanced are just rewarded even more for it. Pegasian Boots gain +1 wrench strength bonus. After they released the Avernic Treads, there was no reason to not do this initially, so it's just good change, should have it. Master Wand gains 10% magic damage bonus. Again, should have always had this. There was no reason to get a Master Wand unless you got a Kodai, and even then you have a very limited uses for Kodai. You're probably 99 Mage, probably 99 Slayer. You're only using it for your Imbued Heart grind at that point, and maybe Inferno if you haven't done it by then. Ancient Scepters of all variants have their magic damage bonus increased to 10%, up from 5%. This is insane. But what this means is that there's, again, no reason to get a Master Wand, because an Ancient Scepter is significantly less aids to get. Aquanite Hopper to have its second hit accuracy penalty halved. That's good. There's not much room to buff this loads, yeah, because it'll just, exactly, without power creep, the Twisted Buckler, because it's quite a bit easier to get than the Buckler, and whenever they released the Aquanite Hopper, their big concern was overpowering the Twisted Buckler, so it makes sense that they're being very light-handed with this buff. Bell's Folly, drop rate increased from 1 in 75, up from 1 in 256. This is good. 1 in 256, it's a Slayer boss, you get it early game. It should be a lot easier to get the Bell's Folly. It's a budget Toa weapon for Iron Man, even though it's still better and it's still easier to get a Hasta than this because you torment the demons, but Venator bows should be made more consistent thanks to their new engine capabilities. It's hard to quantify this, but in effect it should mean that the bow finds new targets more reliably. I've never farmed out a Venator bow. In case you couldn't tell by how much I hated on Muspa earlier, I just don't like to farm that boss. So it's good to see that the Venator bow, like I guess like the engine was not able to keep track of things correctly, so here we go. Or so it's just better now. Inquisitor, I started reading ahead, that's why. Inquisitor changes, it wouldn't be a summer sweep up without Inquisitor changes. It would not, and you could make this shit have 600 strength bonus and nobody would farm it because you still have to walk 27 minutes to get to a Nightmare. But let's see what they do. Remove the Inquisitor set bonus. Oh, so they're just going to be making the pieces good by themselves, which is good. Or, yeah, the mace more specifically. This will allow all pieces and the mace to function better independently rather than locking their utility to a complete set. I thought it was really weird. Name another set outside of Void that has like a set bonus like in the way that like Inquisitor exists. You know, it just doesn't really make that much sense. Inquisitor Mace gains +5 strength bonus and +7 crush accuracy. This guarantees a +1 max hit in all setups and may add +2 in some setups. That's really strong. I don't know. I'm going to assume this is based off of Inquisitor Mason now in full Inquisitor, or maybe this is just the power level Inquisitors had before with the full setup. Inquisitor's Great Helm gains +2 crush accuracy, putting its total crush bonus to 10. That's insane. And +2 strength bonus. This matches equivalent slash bonus and strength bonus granted by the Oathplate helm. Oh, so they're actually just making it a crush equivalent to Oathplate. And I'm going to assume... Yep, so they just made the hauberk also match the Oathplate chest. And then Shaman Mask bonus... What the fuck? Okay. So we have some gear nerfs. Burning Claws. So that's good. Burning Claws are a bit too cost efficient. This is the exact nerf they need. This right here. This just makes it to where you're still going to be popping off specs like crazy with these things, but you're just not going to be able to dump all three at one time. And often outcompete special attack options obtained from considerably harder content like the Dragon Claws and to a certain extent Void Waker. They make it really difficult for us to fill additional special attack weapon space and drastically difficult for us to fill additional special attack weapon space and drastically overperform considering their unlock source, since we wouldn't consider them to be an in-game unlock as opposed to a stepping stone on your way to things like Dragon Claws and Void Waker. Yeah, if Burning Claws are meant to be a stepping stone piece of gear, they are way too strong for that. We have two other items in this category that overperform considerably in PvP scenarios only. Okay, so this is just for PvP. Eclipse at Lattice made to take 1 tick slower, and unless the full eclipse set is worn. I don't PvP, but this seems like a really good change. Since it goes off of your strength bonus, you need like no switches to make the Eclipse at Lattice just go absolutely apeshit. So I think it's good that it's going to be a 4-tick weapon unless you're wearing the full set, because if you're actually full set, like full Moon's Gear switching, the Atlatl should be as strong as it is. It's only whenever you're like saving a ton of inventory spaces because you're in melee gear. In PvP, Soulflame Horn's special attack adjusted to provide plus 50% accuracy rather than plus 100%. Oh, so there were some multi-clans doing some shit with this. The Soulflame Horn makes one item in with items like the Weapon Mace exceptionally strong and doesn't confer any meaningful risk to a group utilizing the strategy. This would still make a powerful option, but slightly less reliable than its... Okay, yeah, this is just good. You shouldn't have an item that can ignore prayer, disable someone's prayer, and then that's ridiculous. Gear Adjustment. Rosewood Blowpipe made to be able to use darts up to rune. It's locked in adamant right now, instead of its current cap at adamant, yeah, as I say right there. To compensate, the 10% bonus damage on its double shot rapid burst special attack would be removed. So the overall just normal DPS is going to be way better, but the special attack is going to be slightly worse to compensate, which is probably good because there's a lot of crazy stuff people are doing at Doom with the Rosewood Blowpipe. Early game gear additions. Early game Slayer has a whole host of monsters who no longer have any interesting loot. That's been a long time, but yeah, we'd like to bolster some loot tables with gear that helps players start climbing the gear ladder for magic and range while they're still in those earlier stages of progression. Yeah, early game magic and range gear is awful, so hopefully they can do something about that. That's good. New magic amulets. We'd like to add a handful of elemental jewels as dropped from NPCs, which can be combined with their respective runes, and an amulet of magic to create a variety of amulets that shine with elemental spells. So these are just elemental amulets. So you get the amulet of air. Sorry, get the air diamond from Killer Watts, 1 in 60. All these are 1 in 64. You can get the water sapphire from sea snake hatchlings. You can get the Earth Emerald from Mollusks, and you can get the Fire Rupee from Infernal Mages. Crafting each of these amulets will have a runecraft requirement, likely in the 18 to 22 range, but players with 30 runecraft can combine all of these to create an elemental amulet. The elemental amulet provides +2 to the max hit of all elemental spells alongside +10 magic accuracy. And I missed it up here because I just read ahead, but these will have +2 max hit to the element they are. This is really good. Elemental Weaknesses already has magic like crazy good in the early game. Like the hardcore I was playing recently, like I'm using magic everywhere because it's just so strong. So having an elemental amulet to go out of our way to get, not that we're past that stage now, but earlier in the game, this would have been fantastic to do. New range necklace, perfect. Oh my god. When it comes to ranged jewelry, there's not really anything even remotely worthwhile for a range-specific bonuses until you obtain a Necklace of Anguish. Yeah, you just use a Fury. While our proposal here isn't a game changer, it's at least a nice unlock for players working their way through Slayer. Necklace of Fangs drops from Turoths at a rate of 1 in 128, provides a +1 range strength and +12 ranged accuracy. Yep, just that should exist. Getting a range strength amulet early makes it a lot better to train ranged early, because there's a lot of early game range weapons that really don't do that much damage anyway, and so this will help him out a little bit. Miscellaneous Changes. Rounding off the proposals we're committed to are a few smaller things that with no particular rhyme or reason. Kinds that you might see scattered throughout regular cool. Okay, so changes to abyssal creatures. Increase rune essence pouch drop rate from abyssal guardians to 1 in 8, up from 1 in 42. Yeah, I'm just big W. Getting your pouches should not be super annoying to get, really. Lower light and heavy ranged defense for Lower light and heavy range defense for Abyssal Guardians and Abyssal Walkers to 0, down from 70 and 75 respectively. So making it to where like bows and ballistas are really good against them, like you always hit with them. And lower the crush defense for Abyssal Guardians to 0, down from 70. Yep, that's just good. It just makes it faster to get your pouches. Early game run improvements. Fully restore run energy and cure any damage over time effects like poison upon completing a quest. That's good. I like that. Add 1 to 3 dose energy potions to a variety of early game loot tables at a fairly common rate. This is also really good. There's no reason, like, normal energy potions are not going to affect the game. You could add 600 quintillion of these into every player's banks and the economy would not notice. Buff energy potions reduce 15% run energy per dose. Also, again, very, very good. There's no reason to make energy potions early game right now, so even if you can make them and you get them as drops, that's good now. You can just use a lot of extra energy instead of having to go and get strange foods at the little fruit stall. Adjust Herbal recipe for energy potions so that they're made with unfinished Guam potion instead of an unfinished Heartlander potion. That's massive, massive, massive. You can actually get something useful out of your Guams. Adjust their Herbal requirement from level 26 to 10 and subsequently adjust the XP obtained from making them to 45, down from 67.5. This is insane. This right here is better than these right here, in my opinion, as far as for early game playability. Add a create last option to lecterns. Insanely just nice quality of life, really good. Make the Gommo's Lucky Penny charge saving effect an account unlock for completing the Master Tier combat achievements rather than requiring an item to be worn. It should have always existed to be like this. Allow the Seed Vault to respect locked inventory slots. Very good. That's so nice, because I like to keep the seeds that I use commonly inside of my bank. I don't like to put them in my Seed Vault, and I always accidentally put them in, and it makes me so mad. Remove the timeout cooldown on making parties in the Theater of Blood. I don't know why that exists. Remove the timeout cooldown upon entering the fight caves too many times. Amen, brother. Whenever I get 2 Jad tasks back to back, I can just go in, go out, reset it, go in, go out, done. Allow pets to follow you into content like the Gauntlet, Fossil Islands, Underwater Area, various minigames, and respawn with you on death. Thank God I can actually use my pet in places. Holy shit. This should have always existed. It was so stupid that the pet system existed, but you couldn't use the pets in half the places in the game. Potential changes, feedback desired. So this is going to be random feedback stuff. So birdhouses, what do they want? Since their addition alongside Fossil Island in 2017, birdhouses have absolutely eclipsed the hunter skill. While the addition of hunter rumors went some way to dethroning them, birdhouses account for a huge chunk of all hunter XP gain, dominating many level brackets and stages of progression. And unless you make these a lot worse, they always will, because this is a fantastic source of bird's nest, fantastic source of early rings, fantastic source of early seeds, fantastic source of like bird eggs and stuff. Birdhouses will always be good because they give good rewards on top of giving good experience. It's not inherently a problem for one method to stand out above all the others in most players, but birdhouses strip the skill of its unique identity and result in a gameplay loop that's more closely resembles farming, effectively reducing all the early game methods to dreaded dead content pile. This is a bit of a problem with the skill itself, if we're being honest. If you added a way for people to skip rune crafting this way, a lot of people would do it. If you added a way to skip Slayer like this, a lot of people would not do it because they want to train Slayer. So that's really what we need to be looking at here is we can make the experience an hour on Birdhouses worse, but we really just need to make Hunter a fun skill to train. That's what we need to do. The Hunter improvements we outlined earlier in the blog are not contingent on what we're suggesting here. We'll be rolling them out regardless, and that should result in considerable improvements to early game Hunter leveling. Yes, it will. There's no sandwich here of we'll buff these things if we're allowed to nerf this other thing, which is good. Having said that, repositioning Birdhouse's design slightly might be necessary to make conventional Hunter training actually appealing. Perhaps this isn't an issue for many of you, but we think cutting back on those chore elements that feel mandatory and instead more strongly positioning activities you can do whenever you feel it is generally net positive. I do agree with that. I would really like it if you could add more Birdhouse sources to make up for this. A very large chunk of my raid brews come from I do a raid, I go do a Birdhouse run, I go do a raid, I go do a Birdhouse run, and that usually lines up pretty good unless it's a fast raid, in which case I send 2, but I always profit brews every single time. And honestly, I don't even really need the Hunter experience from Birdhouses. I love that I get to skip Hunter because it's so boring, but in short, we'd like to try something along these lines. Increase nest output by about 50% and make them more consistent so that you're not getting a couple on one run and filling your inventory on the next. This is really good. So we get more nests and it's more consistent. That's just good. I mean, that's exactly what I was asking for up here. So perfect. Reduce the XP offered for checking them with a big reduction at the lower end and a small reduction at the top end. I think this is fine. So basically this is making it so that you're more forced to train Hunter at lower levels, but at the higher levels where like it's like super fucking boring to train Hunter and you have to do it for so long, they're allowing us to skip that still. So I think that's fine. Let us know what you reckon. We're confident that this would position Birdhouses more appropriately within Hunter progression, but we appreciate that they've been around for a long time now and there's bound to be a considerably I'm not reading that wrong. I'm not stupid. There's bound to be a considerably diversity. It should either be considerable or diverse of opinion here, which is why we're not absolutely committing ourselves to anything at this stage. Rounding us off this year's final potential change, put your hands together for our unofficial mascot of the Summer Sweep Up. You know her, you love her, the Nightmare of Ashihama. Please make the teleport easier to get for the love of God. Just put it on the normal Nightmare's drop table. Make it to where you can get the teleport tablet. A normal Nightmare drop table. Please. Alrighty. Which we think might require radical solutions rather... While we still have some issues here, which we think might require radical solutions rather than just a couple more number tweaks, let us outline our issues. Some of these focus specifically on Inquisitor, which we've covered in the gear rebalancing section above to keep things organized. The Nightmare's loot table feels bloated. There are 4 pieces of Inquisitor, the Nightmare staff, and 3 separate orbs to put into the staff. Yeah, that's a lot of drops. If you're chasing I haven't tried to clog Nightmare. I have heard more complaints about greenlogging Nightmare than people trying to greenlog Third Age, and that should really go a long way of saying about how bad this boss is to log. 8 unique rewards can make it feel really frustrating to chase just a couple of specific items, especially when a decent number of these rewards, like the orbs, are relatively niche. Yeah, they are, like the Volatile is only good for PKing, for example. Some bosses have very little function or appeal for players at any stage of the game and could be revitalized with more interesting loot. Yeah? Inquisitor doesn't feel like a worthwhile unlock, and relying on the full set limits the Inquisitor's mace potential to being a solid main hand weapon. This is why we're making adjustments outlined earlier in the blog. So, as I've said a few times, the problem with Nightmare is A, it's too hard of a boss, and the gear you get is not good enough. That has to change. The third thing, or second thing, however you want to put it, that needs a change, is the boss is too bad to get to. It's so awful running to Nightmare, and it would be a lot better if you could go into the group boss and get the tablet at a 1 in 100 chance. This would make it so that if you want to learn Fasani, it's way better. But currently you don't have that option. You just have to suffer learning Fasani, which is an incredibly difficult boss. And then maybe you get the teleport, but you've spent more time running to Fasani than you have waiting for Hydra to spawn. Move the Volatile and Eldritch Orbs off the Nightmare's loot table. I think this is fine because these are PvP based things, I believe. I don't remember what the Eldritch Orbs, I don't remember which one makes you cast spells one tick faster. This would allow the Harmonized Orb to absorb the weighting of the other orbs. I think that's fine. The Fasani's Nightmare would mean, this would mean that on Fasani's, the Harmonized Orb goes to a 1 in 533 instead of a 1 in 1600. My nose won't stop itching. Increase the generic chance of hitting the Inquisitor Nightmare's loot table by about 10% to compensate for the staff's increased weighting. Okay, yeah, that's fine. Oh, they're also increasing the Nightmare staff weighting. I skipped over that. This will mean more Inquisitor, more focus loot, and potentially more reasons to check out other bosses if we deem to be appropriate sources of the other two Nightmare Orbs. Be sure to let us know what you're thinking and barking up the wrong tree here, or if you think this is a solid direction to go in. I think this is a perfectly fine and perfectly valid direction to go. Again, Nightmare is too bad to get to. The run is awful. No matter how necessary you make Inquisitor, no matter how good you feel Inquisitor is, unless Crush is a very, very, very widely spread used combat style, people just aren't going to farm it. This boss needs to be easier to get to. It just needs to. The banking takes way too long. People would rather get 40 KC at God War's Dungeon than run all the way to Nightmare, and that should really go a long way into saying that there's more problems than just the loot table at this boss.